anymore. But let's see how well Elfi can do on that one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he's going to have to mix it up. I mean, it's a completely different map to the last one, placed so differently to Akalon. But anyway, his opponent spawning in the bottom left-hand position on Derelict Watcher. Unfortunately, losing that base race at the end of a very, very tense game, it is Dimaga.
And in the opposing corner, it is going to be the Red Protoss player winning that last game by showing some interesting base race strategies. It is Elfi.
Never underestimate Elfi. My goodness me. If there's ever been a player that people thought of as unorthodox, unpredictable, and just incredibly hard to prepare for, I think Elfi has to be up there. I think he just gets such good results. It's really, really bizarre to watch. You know, if you look at the Asus ROG tournaments, he does such great work in those. I mean, obviously they are Finnish tournaments as well, so he's playing in front of his home crowd. But I think people seem to be surprised every time he's able to beat, you know, really, really well recognized players. And I think we need to kind of sit back and be like, Elfi's actually really good, guys. Like, legitimately, he's a really good player.
He is indeed. I mean, beating Dimaga is definitely something you can be proud of, just because he's such a famous and well-known player, and also a loved player, and also a very, very good player. So definitely beating him takes some skills, but Elfi definitely has those skills, as we saw previously.
Yeah, he set himself up really nicely in the last game with these hatchery blocks, and I think he's going to do just that here. The probe already getting attacked by the drone. This drone's having none of this, but there goes that eye line. Now, do you think Dimaga just goes straight for the third? It looks like that's exactly what he's trying to do there. No fuss, not trying to wait around, not going to get caught out by the strategy last game. That really, really set his expansion back, and he just goes plonk, there goes the third base. Meanwhile, the Nexus has already been started for Elfi, so pretty even expansion timings. Protoss' one is just a margin ahead, but I don't think that's going to be too significant. What is significant, of course, is that the natural has been avoided by the drone, obviously, because of that probe. So that could come into play, but I'd expect to see a third base following this up from Dimaga relatively quickly here.
Yeah, definitely. That's usually just the standard response against a fast expanding Protoss player. Just because you know he cannot have all that many units that early on in the game. So you're pretty much free to take not really as many bases as you want, but at least your first 3. Just because he usually cannot really do anything about that. Of course, as it gets to the later stages of the game, when the Protoss finishes his warp gates, you have to be careful, because he can always start an assault on your third base. But usually you should be able to actually throw that back.
Yeah, I think, and a lot of the times we've seen in the past, it does come down to, you know, it often comes down to like a warp gate timing against the third base powering up of the roaches, for example. I mean, that's something we've seen in the past. Speaking of like not many military units, Elfi of course has none at the moment. It's pretty standard that when you go for a play like this, you obviously, your gateway is really, really, really delayed. Your tech is really delayed, and all you really have to rely on is a nice wall off and a photon cannon. So Dimaga knows he's not really under any threat at the moment, and he can just drone up to his heart's content right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely knows that. And he's already doing so with just basically only producing drones, apart from those very first 2 links, which are basically primarily used to gain some map vision, also maybe deny some probe scouting, that kind of things. Not really planning on being extremely aggressive, especially since we already have the photon cannons up. And 2 links are actually, I don't think, enough, especially without their link speed upgrade, to actually get past that.
No, I think the photon cannon would deal with that handily. Elfi making his first units now. He's got a Stalker coming out of the gateway, and of course the Mothership Core on the way as well. It is still important to get that Mothership Core, even if you go for that kind of like Stargate play, which is what we're seeing. The Mothership Core is just vital at all stages of the game. Dimaga did get a gas, which is not often the case when you go for this quick third base. You often see Zergs sticking gasless for as long as they possibly can and get away with it, but he did get a gas relatively early, and he's got speed about a third of the way researched. This is really interesting. Do you think he goes for like he gets his double Evo and goes for something like a heavily upgrade-based play? It's quite potent on a map like this, I think.
Yeah, he definitely could go for something like that. That is always a possibility. Of course, a quick layer could also be an option here for him. As well as, of course, some early game aggression, maybe with some banelings, but I don't really think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I would rather predict something. I think a layer, maybe with quick Hydralisks or something like that.
Yeah, and in fact, as you say it, almost as if you had the production tab open. You see the
I
layer
actually
is about
didn't
a
look
quarter
at
of the way
that.
done. And Dimaga got a decent read off of what Elfi was doing. He scouted out the Stargate. He sacked an Overlord in. He sacked a couple of Overlords in. But holy gateways, Batman! It's yeah,
indeed.
that's a lot. It's how many is that? Let me
That
count.
is
My math
6.
is terrible. 6 gateways. It's going to go up to 7 total. This is going to be one heck of a timing, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. That could be a very, very sharp timing. Well, of course, we have to wait what Dimaga can, or how he can deal with that, because there will be a lot of units that will be streaming towards him here any moment, or as soon as Elfi decides to move out, which apparently now is the time for. Lynx will now check and see. Well, they really didn't check the third base, but we'll now see the Stalker moving out and also the Mothership core. So maybe the Dimaga right now knows that there is something heading towards him, and already look at that. That is some interesting pylon play there by Elfi, throwing down 3 to
Wow.
definitely ensure that they will all finish, or at least one of them will finish, to be able to warp in. That
Zealots
is-
getting warped into their doom. They do get picked up by a Phoenix to save their lives as well, but there's a lot of links here. It's going to take a lot of Protoss to be able to force this back. Take out 2 of the pylons. 1 is still standing, but the Phoenixes aren't really going to be able to do a lot here, and that Mothership core is going to take forever to kill all this off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, eventually, Elfi might be able to establish that pylon here. Is if you want to go for some very, very aggressive early game shenanigans here. It's always good that you're actually in control of your own warp in pylon. But now with the Dimaga already getting 10 Hydralisks out, I think the timing that Elfi had is gone now.
It's going to be much harder to hit anyway. I mean, at the very least. I mean, we've got 2 spines in the natural as well as you say, 16 Hydralisks now, and the front of those are just about to pop too. So Elfi's really got to get in and do a lot here, but the Hydra's are already out, at least a few of them are. These Zealots don't have charge, so the Hydralisks can fight these to the end of days, but the Phoenix come in and get some great lift-ups of the Hydralisks, taking them out en masse there. Several of the Hydralisks getting taken out almost immediately. Great DPS, of course, the Phoenix doing extra damage to light units, and the Zealots are just relentless here. He has, of course, got 8 gateways is what he went up to in the end, but I think Dimaga's in real trouble here. Maybe we underestimated Elfi.
Absolutely, definitely. Now also cells are streaming into the third base here. Spine crawlers are trying to get rooted there, but they will not root in time. And now eventually the Mothership core will go down, but still that's just an ongoing flow of cells that is streaming into Dimaga's main and third base here. And I mean, eventually the Hydras will be able to clean that up, but I think at that time it might be, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call at the moment. Elfi got pushed back of the third base. Those triple spines did a good number there. Phoenixes are still doing work against the Hydralisks, but I feel like Dimaga is just barely turning the tide here. We've got more links streaming in as well. A pylon did go up in the natural, and the Zealots are doing a great job working their way down on these links, but there are so many more links coming out as well. And of course, these Zealots don't have charge, so the Hydras were able to get the thing, but there's the GG though. Elfi just barely pulling it out. I thought Dimaga maybe had the better of it just at the end there, but no, Elfi getting the quick 2-0.